There was a time when I would feel super excited whenever a major car brand, mainly BMW, would release a new car, a new sports car, right? But that time is unfortunately long gone. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am still excited to see what BMW and Audi, Mercedes are releasing with their new cars recently, but it doesn't strike me in the same way it did in the 2000s and 2010s. And this has to do with a lot of reasons, which, if you are a car enthusiast or know a thing or two about cars, most likely know and understand. So in this video, I'm gonna outline some of the major reasons why that excitement is fading with time. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the design. The new cars are no better looking than the previous ones. I mean, you just have to look at the G82 M4 and compare it with its previous generations, mainly the F82, which is, in my opinion, arguably one of the best looking BMW M cars ever. Even the car before it, the E92 M3 with the V8, is a lot better looking than the latest generation M4. So design beauty has definitely gone downhill since. And this is not only affecting sports cars, but it's also affecting mainstream cars like 3 Series, like a 5 Series. I mean, just look at the latest 5 Series. I mean, I would never have expected the 5 Series design to look that bad. I've never been a big fan of the new 5 Series design, both exterior and interior. Same goes with the new 3 Series, which has been released first in its electric variant. I think the previous generation 3 Series is a lot better looking. But that, again, is just my own personal opinion. But I do know that a lot of people do share my personal opinion from what I read online, on groups, on YouTube videos, on people's comments, and so on. Now, the next thing I can think of besides the design is the weight of the cars. Nowadays, cars are a lot more heavier compared to their older models, like their previous generations. I mean, if you look at an M5, the latest generation M5 is almost 2.5 tons, which is, mind you guys, as heavy as an American truck, which is absolutely unbelievable when you have an M5, which is supposed to be the best sports sedan on planet Earth, weighing as much as an American truck. I mean, that's absolutely crazy, but unfortunately, these are the times we live in nowadays. And it seems like this is a common trend now among all car manufacturers. If you take a look at Audi's new RS5, which in my opinion is one of the best looking Audis ever. I'm a big fan of the design of that Audi, and this is coming from a BMW enthusiast, so I would love to own one day if the opportunity arises, just because of how beautiful that exterior design is. But let's get back to the weight of the RS5. The RS5 in its Avant form, in the wagon form, is close to 2.4 tons, which is only 100 kilograms lighter than the BMW M5 Touring, which in and of itself is a substantial weight gain compared to the previous generation RS4. And the reason behind this is because of the hybrid system's implementation. So whenever you put a hybrid system into a car, that increases the weight of the car significantly, because batteries are heavy and significantly increase the weight of the car. Same can be said with the latest generation M3 and M4, which I believe both of them are close to over 200 kilograms heavier than the F generation M3 and M4, which is around, I believe, 450 pounds, which is a significant amount of weight. And as you guys may or may not know, weight is your number one enemy on the racetrack. If you want to achieve faster lap times on the racetrack, then the fastest and the easiest way is to bring the weight down. Now let's move on to the next reason why my excitement has faded over the years for new car releases, and that reason has to do with interior quality. And the best example I can give you guys about this is the latest generation 5 Series, including the M5. If you take a look at the previous F chassis generation 5 Series M5 and you compare the interior of that car of that generation with the new generation 5 Series or M5, there is a drastic, significant difference between both interiors. If you sit down on the F generation 5 Series and immediately sit down in the newer generation 5 Series, you will immediately notice a clear downgrade in terms of interior quality, in terms of materials, because the latest generation 5 Series interior is mostly made up of plastic. The first time I sat in one, I was really let down by the overwhelming use of plastic. A 5 Series is supposed to be the best mid-size luxury sedan you can get, and I am not okay with the idea of having a lot of plastic inside a 5 Series. I mean, it's a clear downgrade compared to the previous generation, which had very, very minimal use of interior plastic. If you take a look at a high-spec 5 Series F generation interior, pretty much every surface your hand touches is leather, unlike the current 5 Series. And one detail I will share with you guys as far as the current 5 Series, which is really shameful for a 5 Series, is the door speaker grill. The door speaker grill looks like it's out of a Kia. It's just the cheapest plastic you could ever get. And not to mention the Harman Kardon speaker grills, which used to be real aluminum before in the previous generation 5 Series. Now they just use a plastic that mimics the look of aluminum, but it's far from being aluminum. It's just plastic and feels like plastic. The moment you touch it, you don't get that expensive premium feedback you get from touching real aluminum, which is cold to the touch and feels very nice to the touch. Now let's move on to the next reason, which is the technology. The technology in today's cars is overwhelming. I mean, you have so many screens, you have 2, 3 screens, sometimes even more screens in the back, and I've never been a big fan of this. I just like to have one main infotainment screen at the top of the dashboard, which is the best location to have it. Talking about location, this is another thing that a lot of car manufacturers mess up nowadays. If you take a look at a C-Class infotainment screen, it's positioned at the bottom of the dashboard, so you always have to look down to see whatever information is in there and compromise your safety by taking your eyes off the road. So again, this is something that some car manufacturers mess up, but going back to the technology, I never felt like I needed more than one infotainment screen. I believe that's more than enough, and I personally think that having 2 or even worse 3 screens is overkill when it comes to a car interior. Another thing to add is the physical control, the physical buttons, which have disappeared with the newer cars, and that is something which is super valuable to me. I don't like playing around with touch controls, and unfortunately that is the trend right now, although Audi is doing a U-turn on this and has recently announced that they will soon implement physical controls back in their newer cars, which can already be seen in their newer Q7 and Q9 SUVs. Another thing I like about older cars, which is no longer available in today's cars, is physical gauges. I've always preferred having physical gauges over digital instrument clusters just because it looks a lot more elegant, more alive, and I just prefer the overall experience of having physical gauges in front of you, especially when it comes to a sport car. The last reason, which is a major reason among all the reasons I have shared with you guys, and that is the price. Cars have become significantly pricier, more expensive, while providing less value compared to their older models. And this is something that doesn't sit well with me, doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and I just can't justify paying a lot more for a car that doesn't excite me as much as its older model. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give me a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.